Hello, folks. Today, we've got Juliet Lemon on the podcast. She's a photographer, an extraordinary photographer, and she's dabbled in all sorts of different types of photography. And today, we're going to talk about how to get into wedding photography, what it looks like to try and find a wedding photographer and what you should look for in a photographer, and then the benefits of working with charities. So, grab a marshmallow, pull up a log. It's story time. You got cues, put them down below or drop me a line. Enjoy.
Juliet Lemon. I'm a professional photographer based in London, but travel all over the world for photographs, photo shoots, and I'm here because you've kindly invited me to come and join you on your collaboration podcast.
Boo. Okay, but we're here for bigger reasons than that. We are here because one day I was sifting through a Peak Design website, and I stumbled upon the ambassadors, and you were one of the ambassadors, and I said, yo, you want to meet? And you said,
yes.
Let's meet. And c'est la vie. And so for years we've worked apart, and just recently over the past maybe 18 months, 2 years, we've come together to do projects together. Tell me and y'all a little bit about how you do what you do. What do you do? You're a professional photographer, but there's more in that.
Yeah, there's several different elements to my world. So predominantly, there's a lot of weddings, which I have then balanced to be about 50-50 with my corporates as well. So the weddings are UK based, but I also do have a big connection with Africa. So I tend to drift back to Africa for safari weddings.
Not a bad place to drift in.
Which is just so special. And then on the corporate side of things, that covers everything from, I started out with motor racing.
I love that falls into corporate. Carry on.
Commercial as well, I guess. So, yes, I started out with motor racing and covered even the Le Mans 24-hour race, right up to Formula One, the British touring cars as well. Also shoot for companies in London and all around the world, actually. So all shapes and sizes. I do a lot of travel. So I mentioned just now that I've got the Africa connection, and I shoot a lot with safari lodges, luxury safari lodges, and also photograph a lot for NGOs and charities around the globe too.
I love that because to me, it all makes sense. But for anybody who's maybe getting into photography or filmmaking or whatever it might be in the creative space, those are really interesting worlds to straddle. You're talking about wedding photography, corporate photography, commercial photography. How do you not get pinholed into one? Yeah,
I mean, it's a very varied repertoire, but I feel that the common denominator is the camera. So if I know how to use my camera and it's understanding people and light and really getting creative with it, then it's just finding the enjoyment in every field and really wanting to shoot more in it. So I like the challenge, I like the variety, and I just really enjoy seeing different worlds, actually.
It makes 100% sense to me because all of it is linked. And I think for anybody who's getting started in this world who wants to dabble in both, it's not about, say, what you're photographing. It's that you're photographing. So as you say, the camera is the common denominator. Yes, it is. It's a tool that allows you to do all of these things. So don't get limited by the travel. Don't get limited by the corporate stuff. Don't get limited by the weddings. Because in my opinion, wedding photographers are the best photographers.
Thank you.
Because you've got to do so much on a day. It's like you've got to interact with the people on the day. You've got to get portraits. You've got to get landscapes. You've got to do still life. You've got to capture everything in a day. Because your client, the bride and the groom, have put so much into that day. There's a lot riding on it. You're just like, oh my God, there's a lot. And so there's a lot of pressure on a wedding photographer, which is why I don't shoot weddings.
But I've found that by shooting in so many different worlds, there's experience, there's shooting styles and varieties and techniques that I've pulled through from those worlds into weddings and vice versa. So there's stuff that I've done at the race circuit that has come into play when I'm with the wedding couple and the groom's got a really fancy car as the wedding car and they want to get some snazzy shots. So I'll be doing that panning shot, which I was doing at the race circuit. So it's just all kind of pulls through and it really benefits all different shooting styles.
So how is it that you've taken, say, to the corporate world? Because one thing I talk about with young photographers is if you're going to do corporate stuff and you're going to do wedding stuff, don't let them live in the same house. Like, you just keep them separate. So when you showcase this, you showcase it as we do corporate stuff. And then the other side is we do wedding stuff. So that way you're not mixing these worlds visually, because sometimes clients don't understand it. Whereas as a photographer, yes, one understands it. You can take things from the corporate world and bring them into your weddings, and weddings into the corporate world. So how do you manage keeping those worlds separate?
Yeah. So on my wedding website, well, on my main website, which
so you have multiple websites?
One's under construction, and then I've got the main website, which is julietlemon.com, little plug. And that's got my wedding work on it. There is one section for portraits, but it's not that obvious. So I don't show the conferences and the marketing shoots for the corporate clients on that one. I actually haven't properly showcased my corporate photography work for quite a while. So just people don't really know about it, but I've been busy for about 14 years with corporate, so something's pulling through.
Do you do it on purpose?
Yes, it's just nicer to focus on the weddings, and to be honest, the corporate just comes in.
Which is interesting, because weddings are what people search for more so, and I feel like corporates are more referral.
Yeah.
So it works.
Yes.
You don't need the corporate website as much, because it's like, oh, I worked with Juliet.
Yeah.
She's great. You guys should use her too.
Yes. I haven't posted for a while, but I do put stuff on LinkedIn. So I have been getting lots from there. And that, again, is the referrals, the recommendations. And, when previous clients connect you through someone else's inquiry, that's a really great way to go. I do push portraits on my social media platforms, because they're just beautiful lifestyle feeling pictures, and it doesn't feel stuffy, and that's kind of the style that I shoot in anyway. It's with that twist of lifestyle, that freshness, that vibrancy, not here I am against a plain backdrop looking really moody and boring. It's actually working with the clients to give them a bit of life. And inevitably, many of my wedding couples use me and refer me for their works in their corporate world. So that's where the connections come through really strongly. And
have you seen, is there a photographer that you've worked with in the past, or somebody that you work with now that you look at and you go, they're nailing it?
Do you know what? I don't have much time to look at other people's work. I can't give you an answer or a name for that one, I'm afraid. But I do enjoy, I've connected with so many lovely people on Instagram, and all the people there, it's just liking their pictures, and you kind of absorb photos, but it's just, I think the standard of the industry is really high. So there's so much inspiration everywhere, which is, does make you want to keep on your toes.
I heard a lovely quote this morning about competition and colleagues. It is just the idea that there's more customers than competition.
Completely.
And I find that really interesting in this city, because when I came to this city, and I feel like I'm bashing London, but it's like, look, this is a big pond. There's a lot of photographers. There's a lot of creatives here.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of work here.
There's tons of work. There really is.
And so with the photographers, when you're looking for work, sharing work, getting other people on board, other photographers on board, my ethos has always been share. And I think sharing is always important in anything that you do, especially in this world, because if I can't do it, I might as well refer somebody that I know to do it, because I know that they're lovely. I know that they're going to have a good experience, and you should do that.
Completely. I know we've obviously swapped referrals for work, which is wonderful to have that working relationship. In my wedding photography world, I get most of my inquiries. I'm recommended at several venues, so that's really a great way to be connected with your wedding couples. But I have a great network of other photographers, and they've become buddies. So we've got WhatsApp groups, and we can just share referrals. Like you said, if you're booked on a date, then I'd love to be able to connect a really phenomenal photographer that I know, that I've worked with, that I've seen their work, and they're a fantastic human being, and really make sure that wedding couple's looked after. And then so much so, there's a lovely bunch of wedding photographer girls, and we go on holiday together. So because we've known each other in the industry for years, but we never get the chance to socialise, because if we do see each other on the wedding circuit, we're kind of working. So it's just really, really great to...
I suppose typically you don't have multiple photographers on a day.
No, sometimes do require a second shooter. if the venue or the the size of the wedding or the logistics require it, in which case just give one of the guys on my WhatsApp group a shout and see who is available. And that's wonderful to have a wing buddy as well to shoot with on that day.
Okay, so talk to me about this. If I am getting married, what do I look for in a wedding photographer? Because I look at wedding photography and I go, it kind of all looks the same.
Yeah.
So what am I looking for?
Look about the style and the feel. Look at the, if you're looking at the photos, do you think they're going to look dated in a couple of years' time? Do you think the pose, are they being posed? Is it natural? Just have a real good look through their portfolio. Maybe even ask to see a couple of full wedding albums, or the galleries. So ask online. It's not always essential that the photographer has photographed at your venue, because I think that photographers are creative enough to be able to absolutely nail it. So, and also have a really good conversation with them. Do meet up face to face or have a video chat and get a vibe and see if it's going to be the right fit for you and vice versa.
So it's personality driven.
Completely, yeah.
It's like, you mentioned not just seeing one photograph or 5 photographs from the wedding, like show me the gallery.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's like you can nail, if you're a bad photographer, you can get 1 out of 1,000. But when you see that gallery, you go, ooh, that's a hot gallery and it looks really good and everybody looks great. Everybody's having a blast. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. The business world right now for you in wedding world, how's that going?
Yeah, so currently at the tail end of the global pandemic, so weddings have kind of ground to a halt. I've got my first one next weekend, so fingers crossed that goes ahead. It's just a diddy one. Obviously, there haven't been that many. I had 3 last year, which was a vast drop from what I normally have.
Man, that's tough.
Yeah, and I just feel for my couples. It's been just such a roller coaster, not knowing, not being unsure of what the rules and regulations are. And, even the early days, it was just panic stations and everyone's rescheduling. And I've had couples that have now had to reschedule for the 3rd time. And I've actually had an email yesterday from a lovely couple getting married this summer, and they said, you know what, it's just too much. We're going to do next year. So a handful of weddings are going to go ahead this year. It's obviously going to be slightly smaller. Hopefully the restrictions will change in the coming months, but I don't know, who knows? But as a wedding professional, I hopefully have been as accommodating and chilled out and as understanding and just easy peasy to work with, because my couples have got enough stress at the moment as it is. Fortunately, all the rescheduled dates have worked out for my diary so far, so fingers crossed that continues. Well,
even with your initial response, it's an indicator that it's about the couple, which you think getting married is brutal on any given year, but over the past 16 months, you just go, ooh.
And this is supposed to be a time that's fun and joyous and full of celebrations, and it's been hectic for them. So I really, really do feel.
So how in the world does one, say like in your shoes, how does one get into the wedding photography world?
So I would say start with who you know. Reach out to, any of your friends that are getting married. Do you know any wedding photographers? You can always ask to assist a wedding photographer. There might be some wedding photography workshops for you to go along. You could even maybe get a friend or a family member to dress up in a wedding dress, and you could take photos and practice with that.
Do you think it's a tough industry to get into?
I don't know, because I'm worried. I've been in it for 14 years, but
you have seen it evolve.
I have definitely
seen it get busier, cluttered.
I have seen
less
it.
Cluttered.
Yeah, but then there are people in the industry that have absolutely skyrocketed in a very short space of time, and their work is phenomenal. But they've put the effort in. So I think it boils down to the individual. I think it boils down to mindset and drive. And you can also do things like get mentored. You can attend workshops and classes. There are so many tutorials online for you to get your head around, and you can pick up really great creative tips as well just by watching stuff online as well.
So if somebody wanted to get mentored by Juliet Lemon, is that possible?
Yeah, I do one-to-one mentoring workshops, and also do group workshops as well. So this summer, well, hopefully we're going to be starting up my street photography workshops again, which are really fun over in East London. So
cool.
Yes, waiting for the weather to get a bit warmer.
Okay, so weddings, tick, travel is toast. But talk to me about travel photography.
Yeah.
You spend loads of time in Africa. You've worked in a bunch of lodges. It's obviously a dream destination for many. Why are you drawn to Africa?
Oh, it's just the best continent in the world for me. So I've basically structured my business normally without out of a pandemic year for me to work solid chunks of time, so a couple of months in a row, and with not much time off, like no weekends off, because obviously I'm shooting weddings, and then be able to head off to Africa for a month or two or three or maybe a bit longer. So,
And is that for work, or do you go, I'm going and I'm going to figure out a way to work when I'm there?
it's the latter. So I say I'm going because that's what works with my diary, and then inevitably work happens. Although if I have a safari wedding that has booked me, so I had a beautiful one the last December gone, and
I don't even know what year that is. Is that 2015?
No, either.
Okay.
It's a while ago. And the gorgeous couple were getting married in Botswana, and they had a whole week-long thing. So it was safari lodge here and over there with the family, and dinners and barbecues and stuff. And they booked me for the whole week, which was a dream. And I was out there for 6 weeks in total. So gave the couple their week, and then did a shout out to my existing clients, which are some really stunning luxury safari lodges, and said, I'm around, who wants me? So it worked out that I got snapped up for the whole time that I was not weddinging.
But the nice thing is, even if you don't get snapped up, I mean, you have the personality type that would do this anyway, and I would encourage any photographer to do so. If you're going to a foreign destination for a shoot and you don't have things booked on either side, figure out a way that you can fill them, whether it potentially could be with the lodge that you're staying at. Be like, hey, I'm going to be there, blah, blah, blah. Do you need any images of any other things around your property? What can I do to maybe get in to this world?
Completely. Or number one schoolboy error for people that travel is that when they travel for work, is that they do not look to tag on that extra time either side. So I can't emphasize how important it is, if possible, financially and time-wise, and obviously other responsibilities, is just to get out there and spend as much time on location, even if it's just have a mini break for you and just get to explore the area. But equally, if you've got your cameras with you, you might as well make the most of it. So yes, reach out, offer your services. It could, there might be budget for them to pay you, or it could even be you do swapsies. So you could
Swapsies?
I know. You could stay at the lodge in exchange for photos. So that's an option. Also, if there's anything that you're passionate about or interested in, there might be some NGOs or charities or organisations that are in sync with what your values are, and just go and offer your services there, and you just connect with the most amazing people doing phenomenal things, and you are really doing some good by delivering great photos, which will hopefully make a difference to their charities and organisations.
So talking about swapsies, how does one budget? You go, my photo is worth $17 million. So I'm going to need a lot of time in this hotel. Like, how do you negotiate that?
So it just depends. I mean, my ethos generally, because I work hard enough in the UK, I don't go to Africa or foreign destinations with the intention to, beyond the booking I've been booked for. So, with the Safari Lodge or with the wedding, I don't think, right, I want to go and make loads of money elsewhere. For me, I love what I do so much. I'm so passionate about taking photos, delivering them, working with the lovely people, seeing, exploring and meeting, connecting, and being able to, it's just offering that and seeing where it goes. So for me, it's not about the money, always. I mean, money does help, but it just isn't. I'd prefer to connect with a really lovely independent charity and give them some time. My donation is my time and my photos. And I did for example, I did an amazing shoot in Madagascar for this lovely charity up in Diego Suarez, and they messaged me afterwards saying, thank you so much for the photos. We've been able to put it into the fundraising proposals, and actually we've since got funding, which has helped us. And
amazing. Because
we had the visuals to go with it, it really did. And, we're convinced that's why we got the funding, because we've never had a photographer travel to the remote parts of the country like you did and be able to provide us with photos of the project. So it's just great to be able to help.
Well, the nice thing is that you have a skill set that is broad and wide ranging, and you can give that skill away. And I feel like there's loads of charities that don't even know where to start, don't know how to find a photographer. A lot of local photographers, no offense to any local photographers in these regions, but it's like they don't have the equipment. They can't get the equipment into the country, whereas you've already come in with it for another shoot.
Yeah.
And it's like to be able to give that skill away is magical. And I mean, in this case, makes a massive difference because they got funding. They could do something more for the community around themselves. It's
and
amazing.
raise awareness as well.
Yeah.
So, you pop these pictures onto their social media platforms and people can see, oh, that's the water well and that's the eco thing that they're doing. It's like, okay, that makes sense now.
In all the times that we've chatted, the joy is when I ask you what you've been up to, typically that's the stuff you talk about. You don't tell me about the motorcycle shoot you just did. It's those passion projects and times when you weren't making money that are the times that you talk to me about.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you probably talk to other people about it too.
Yeah.
And so how is it, say with a photographer, how do you even go about finding those things for you? Obviously everybody's different. But how do you start doing that? How do you start giving your time away to the right people to actually make a difference?
Yeah, it's obviously you need to get a few things in place to make sure you've got your rent covered and you've got enough money coming in to be able to take that time out. So I have worked exceptionally hard to get things in place to allow me to take a couple of months off. Obviously, if I do pick up paid work whilst I'm away, then that's happy days. But I have actually budgeted already to, I haven't factored paid work in, so that's fine.
So everything, if you were to make a penny, it would be in addition to what you were expecting.
Yeah, exactly. Also there are kind of, like I said, the swapsy thing. So, you can have swapsies there, but maybe in future as well, you could go back to the Safari Lodge in the future. So that's another kind of way to accept payment, like another way of payment. Yeah, I'm very happy with that kind of setup. But yeah, so it's just making sure that you're set up to do it. Like I said earlier, it's reaching out to who you know, or what are you interested in. For example, when I went to Madagascar, I didn't know anybody there. So I did some research online and found 4 different charities throughout the country and contacted all of them, just dropped them all an email saying, hi, I'm going to be coming to Madagascar for a month.
You cold emailed people?
Yeah.
Oh, golly, what an idea.
I know. And just said, look, I'm going to be passing through. I've looked at the work your organisation does. It seems really great. I'd actually, if you're keen, I'd love to come and connect and maybe volunteer. But actually, I am a professional photographer. So if you'd like to completely take advantage of that, I would be more than happy to give you my time, give you my photos, and out of my own pocket, I'll travel to, the destination or wherever. And literally for Madagascar, all of the charities replied within an hour. It was insane. I've never had such a prompt response. So the way I organised it was just replied saying, brilliant, I land on this date. I'll come and see you that afternoon in your head office in the capital, and then made a plan with what projects and stuff. And they were up in the north, so I was able to see them, but travel around as well I think I was there for 6 weeks in Madagascar. So yes, and travel around there and explore, and then head to the next region, or down south or in the interior of the country and explore. And then by connecting with the people on the ground at the projects as well as in the head offices, you just meet the most phenomenal people. They end up taking you to places that aren't even mentioned in the guidebooks, and they're just so welcoming, and that in itself is it's just great. I really enjoy it.
I mean, the exchange is off the charts. It's like you work for free because you love doing it and you want to do it. You reached out, and then in exchange, you get life experience.
Amazing.
Work experience you'd never be able to get.
Incredible connections. And also, I'm there with a purpose as well. I think it's just it's just great to be there, to be delivering and know that in the long term, your photos are hopefully going to make a difference.
You've also worked on a couple of other projects where you've created books for charities. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this is something really amazing that's come out of lockdown. So I think you haven't really touched on the Safari Lodge part of my world, but I started managing luxury safari lodges in 2001. And that was where my kind of passion for photography was lit. And yeah, I just haven't been able to keep away from Africa, so go regularly. And during lockdown, a lovely safari contact got in touch saying, I'm in the process of putting a book together and I want to collaborate with great wildlife photographers, and we want to make a digital ebook, and all the proceeds will go to communities and conservation organizations in Africa that are really hit hard because of the current global pandemic. So if you think that these communities have built their worlds around tourism, and suddenly it's gone. So it was, the proceeds, 100% proceeds go to them. So it was just an absolutely wonderful thing to be able to connect and collaborate with phenomenal wildlife photographers and just all join together for something that we all feel so passionately about. And yeah, we raised a lot of money. So the book's called Tatenda, and there was a volume 1 last year, which is still available, and volume 2, Tatenda, I think it's called A Journey Through Africa and Beyond. And it's available to download just for $5 for a minimum donation, but you can donate more. And
that's still going now?
That's, just launched at the beginning of this month, actually, the volume 2.
Link's right there.
Thank you very much. So yeah, it's, and it's just, to see that the money is going directly to these organisations, and it's being used and they need it. So it's just nice to try and help them.
Well, there's a couple of really awesome things in that. It's like then you get to reconnect with other photographers that maybe you didn't know that love the same thing that you love, to kindle relationships. You also have somebody reaches out to you and is like, can we use your photography? Which is a tough question to ask. And then you also have to be willing to let it go too.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of individuals that don't feel comfortable letting their imagery go because they place a value on it. And if they let it go too much,
of course,
then there's issues, and maybe that they're not going to get hired for the thing or whatever it might be, whatever the psychology is going on with that particular person. But you have to be open and willing to give your photos away.
Yeah, but I think it's the collaboration as well. It's just something that is made even more accessible these days because of social media. I mean, just on Instagram, if you want to connect with someone, you just message them, and you're there. Whether they reply to you or not is a different matter. But the channels are there. And over the years, in all the different worlds I've worked in, from the motor racing to safari to corporates, I found if you reach out, people say yes, or at least they will reply and see how they can help. And what's the worst that could happen? Someone say no. Well, at least you tried. But there's other avenues.
Yeah, I think more people need to do it. It's like if you like somebody's work, tell them. If you want to connect with somebody and you want to work with somebody, ping them.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason why those things exist, and you'd be surprised at the responses that you get, because people send me messages all the time, and I reply, and they go, "What?"
Yeah.
Or I've sent out for various other projects to celebrities. And you make sure that your case is very straightforward because they don't have a lot of time to read it.
Yeah.
Understand that they're time deprived, so you give them the information they need to hear and need to know and how they can help. Make the ask very simple, and you'll probably get a response.
And for example, how we connected must have been, oh my gosh, it must have been about 10, maybe 10 years ago. It was quite a while. And that's because you complimented me on my camera bag. So, the next...
Which I don't like now, but yeah.
I love them. I love them loads. So, and that's just from a tweet. And we've passed jobs each other's way. We've worked assignments where we've traveled the world. We've done crazy stuff. And that's just from me replying to someone reaching out on social media.
Yeah, thanks, famous person.
Thanks for reaching out.
And just so we know, Peak Design has great bags. I just am a big fan of my stealth bags.
I love Peak Design. They're great.
One of my problems as a photographer when I have to be replaced is that I'm really picky. And I don't like replacing myself with anybody because I feel like I deliver a great service. And so to find somebody else to be able to deliver that great service is quite difficult. To be able to be front of house, to not only, I don't care about the photography point. The photography at this part is the easiest part. It's finding people who can interact with individuals, that can potentially have a cocktail and still interact with individuals and stay professional and still deliver photo, video, editing, photo and video, all of it, all in one, every day. And I feel like those are tough shoes to fill. And I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm just saying that my job is difficult. And so when I found you and got to bring you out to go do a shoot in Mexico, and I got to see you work, it was refreshing. That I was like, yes, somebody else can do this that I'm not going to need to be there for. And to be able to pass work and know that the clients were going to be happy. And to me, that's huge. And I feel like the photographers that I work with, I feel like they also find it difficult to replace themselves. Whereas I'm grateful. So thank you very much for replacing me in several situations.
Thank you for asking me. It's all been fun.
When we started talking, you weren't shooting video.
No, that was a couple of years ago.
And I was like, I need you to shoot video.
Yeah. So I think when you mentioned that, I was heading off to Africa for a wedding. And then I was in Namibia for safari shoots for safari lodges and a cookbook as well, I think, and a rhino project and a community project. Yeah, quite a few things.
Cooking rhinos. Nice.
Yes, delicious.
Rhinos that cook. No. Rhinos that cook, not cooking rhinos.
And when I was there, I needed to play with the video. And I did it at the wedding, actually. The couple didn't know, and I surprised them with a video too. So, I mean, the cameras, I shoot with my Canons. I love them. I think they're great pieces of kit, and it's all there. It's all there, and you can flip one switch from photo to video. And so I just set myself the challenge that I'd do what I could during the wedding, that was amazing. Got really great footage. But for the couple of weeks when I was in Namibia with the safari lodges, just literally try and do a video a day of different things. Of the rooms, of the chefs, of the rhino tracking, everything like that, and really just launched into it. And yeah, now it's an integral part of my business. Even more so in the current climate, just being able to offer, give your clients more range, more services. So if I go and do a business shoot, the weekend I was photographing an event and offer the client a highlights video of their big event, and they jump for joy. And it's huge. Yeah, but it's really fun as well. There's a slight difference to kind of the creative thought process between photos and videos, and I really like the challenge. So when that switch flicks, it's thinking, okay, right, in video mode, right, what are we doing? Okay, angles and motion and movement and create creative arty things, and yeah, I really enjoy it. I try.
I love it, creative arty things. Well, that's any photographer. If you're a photographer, learn video. And if you're in video, learn photography.
I think so.
But years ago, when we started this thing with a travel company back in the States for Walking Tree Travel, it was easier to get photographers to learn video than it was for videographers to learn photo.
Okay.
Because the photographers, they could hold frames, like they could find frames. Whereas video guys, they things could just happen and they could roll through frame. So they weren't used to capturing that millisecond moment. So getting them to transfer over to photography, you weren't getting the photos to the caliber that I wanted photos. And so then when you went the other way, when you took the photographer who could capture frames, you're like, okay, now I just need your little shaky hands to stay still. And then it was playing with other angles and getting, being able to okay, if you're going to hang yourself upside down to get that photograph, well, you need to be able to at least hold it for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting to watch the world evolve from the Canon 5D Mark II, and then to now the R's and into the other stuff, and the R5 I still have beef with because they don't have the switch.
Why?
Because
Why?
Silly sauce. You're an R5. You don't go in my bag because you don't have the switch on the back. But those particular sorts of skills, I feel like, are huge. And whether you charge more for them or not, either way, your client's going to be happier. Like if you're shooting portraits to do a business profile, what's your name, Sally Sue? What do you do? Yeah. And then the company has 50 little videos, vignettes on who each customer is. I mean, who each person in the company is, what they do, what their role is. And you just go, you can do that on a normal day out, just taking portraits. And you go, it's a no-brainer. And so all photographers, all filmmakers do the little swip swap thing and get better at the other thing. And also, to be honest, if you couldn't shoot video, I wouldn't have brought you out on the shoots. So, there's another reason. If people are looking to employ more photographers that can film, you better pony up and start working on it, or you're not going to get the jobs.
Yeah, and that's what's been so nice that, I am, like, for example, when I was at the most recent wedding in Botswana, I didn't actually tell the couple I was doing this because I just wanted to crack on. And they had so much going on. There was just like tons happening every day. I photographed the whole thing, obviously, because that's what they booked me to do. But I filmed the whole thing. I filmed every day. So I got the hen party, I got the safari trips, I got time at the lodge, obviously the wedding day, got the post off, the barbecue, the party in town, and the whole thing is documented in stills as well as video. And obviously it would have been lovely to have a videographer beside me because it would definitely half my workload, but it's just so nice to be able to have that skill set. And also you don't know where it's going to go. And something actually I don't think you even know about. So at the weekend I photographed a movie drive-in for a TV channel. It was just a great movie premiere and very American kind of setup. It was just so exciting.
Sounds great.
It was so good. There was like 280 cars there. So it was just such an amazing setup. Obviously works perfectly with all the social distancing bubble stuff. We live streamed the event. So and that's because, I started to expand on my videography thing. I'm working with other people, brought them onto the team, and, I'm filming I'm doing a show reel of the event, I'm photographing it, and someone else from my team is doing a live stream and, broadcast onto the platform, the TV platform. So yeah, it was amazing. Oh, so yes.
One of the things that I find fascinating about flipping between photo and video is a mental switch in my brain, and I don't know about your brain, but it's not easy. It is not easy at all because you're thinking in two minds and then trying to be there for those moments, and you're like, how is this person going to use this image? It's like you need the kiss in photo and video.
Yes.
So how are you going to do it? Because they're only going to kiss once. So you've got to match the medium for the moment and make sure that it's right for the client who's going to
and get your timing right as well.
And,
yes.
And so it's like if you were hired to be the photographer, you get the photo of the kiss. Mm-hmm. If you were hired to be the videographer, you get the video of the kiss. Yeah. Because that's what you were hired for. Mm-hmm. But it's how can you go, that was a great smooch. Can you just do that again? And then you get it in the opposite. Mm-hmm. Obviously on the altar, you can't do that. But you can recreate things and do other things.
You can. There are ways to make it work. So yes, but definitely, I think you've got to prioritize what you're there initially booked for. Yeah. And then everything else on top of that is a bonus.
And then how do you find your deliveries now with social media the way that it is? Because I find there are certain things. It's like I photograph and film everything because if I go to a film shoot and I don't have photos, I don't feel like it happened. Mm-hmm. I want the still images. Because it's easier for me to just rattle through and look at something and share something quickly with a still image.
Yes.
Nobody's going to sit down for 60 seconds and watch a video. So, but then there's moments where you're like, but we need the video. The video is really important because the video is going to be a rock solid sales tool and it keeps people stuck on a website. So the photo might hook them, but then you need something to make them stay.
Yeah.
Or if the wedding couple is like, okay, we want to do the video because we want to show it to everybody that was at the party or at the wedding, but we want to get a photo album.
Yeah. So it's about educating your clients, communicating with your clients, and really understanding what exactly they're wanting. So yeah, it's just about communicating, and from the experience that we've got, we can hopefully guide our clients in the right way to deliver exactly what they're wanting.
Fingers crossed.
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about the thing that we've been doing. I've been doing for the past 5 years, brought you on to doing last year. Mm-hmm. Around the world, 25 days of photographing and filming for holidays.
Yes.
You would call that a private jet around the world.
It is a private jet around the world.
So isn't that's amazing? It's like super fun. You like having it's a holiday.
It is amazing. I think we need to give a bit more context because people haven't been following our Instagram feeds. They might not understand. It was a 25-day around the world by private jet wildlife safari. And it was visiting 8 countries, with the focus being on wildlife, and the animals are on the endangered species list. So both based in, when you did yours, we got flown from London to the States, did 2 nights there, and then the trip commenced. So Japan to go and see the snow monkeys, and then also have fun in Tokyo. Borneo to see the orangutans and the proboscis monkeys. Philippines for the whale sharks and tarsiers, so went swimming with the whale sharks. India for the tigers, Madagascar for the lemurs, Rwanda for the gorillas, and Kenya for the big 5. So all of that was jam-packed into 25 days, which is just the craziest schedule. If you're thinking about the logistics and the distances between and the time zones and the weather changes, and I mean, it's just, there's a lot to fit in. It's an absolute whirlwind around the globe. Obviously, you're flying on a big private jet. What was it? Is it 757?
757.
757. So, had a bit of luxury in between the destinations. But, I mean, the schedule was... When you first told me about the gig, you said it's literally like doing 25 weddings in a row. And bearing in mind, I can shoot up to 12, 15 hours at a wedding. Obviously, not always all that long, but this definitely was full day weddings back to back, and more actually, because you've got to factor in the travel as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
I find it interesting.
So, and we were, because you've been doing it for a couple of years, and I did one tour, and working as the official photographer and videographer to document the whole trip for the guests, and also to get the marketing shots too. You just don't stop. Absolutely don't stop. But it was amazing, but hard work.
I think when people look at that, they look at, they see your departure photo. Mm-hmm. Like you're standing in front of a thing and what you're about to go do, and everybody goes, oh, that sounds amazing. You're going to be, what an epic holiday. And yeah, it does for the people that are on it. But for the photographer and the filmmaker that are on it, it is a whirlwind 25-day shoot, nonstop. You're skipping time zones. You're doing everything that they do. So you're up at the crack of dawn, anywhere between 4:30 and 5 for me. Go on a run, start the day, do the breakfast, do the activities, do the lunch, do the activities, do the dinner, and be up late all night with the clients.
And
go back, edit, offload, recharge batteries, get ready to go, repack, jump on the plane the next day, go to another destination, get off the plane first, go photograph and film, deliver. I mean, it is non-stop. And I'm dead. As soon as I get home, my body just quits because for the whole trip you're running on adrenaline.
Yeah.
And it's epic. But you come home and you die.
Yeah, I slept for about a week. No lie. Like literally. Yeah.
The best bit is that when I get off the plane, the job's not done. That's maybe the first quarter of the job. And so then you come back and you go, okay, now we're going to go. Granted, I'm editing the whole way through. So we're delivering images on iPads the whole time.
And it's photo and film.
Photo and film. And so delivering these things so clients can see them so they can share them with family and friends to share the journey. Then that's happening as we go. But then as soon as we hit home, then it's compiling, getting everything sorted, getting everything organized, facial recognition on all the images so everybody can go into galleries. So they go into photo books. And then once they hit the photo books, it then goes into custom galleries. Then they receive a custom gallery from their trip.
Yeah.
And then the editing of the books, the iterations of the books. And then we go to print and we spot check all the books. And then I go to the print house and I make sure that everybody is who they are in that particular book and make sure that it goes to the right person, down to the address that's going to go to that address. Yeah. And you just go.
It is tons of work. So it's quite funny that I think you got it right. The trip is only quarter of the work. And I think the hardest thing I found during the trip was just keeping on top of the editing, because the guests are wanting pictures. You know, you've just had an amazing walk. You've been trekking with gorillas. And by that stage, they realise that the professional photographer's on board. I'm not even going to get my camera phone out because the professional
Which is the point.
Exactly.
Which is
exactly. Great. So, you know, I've got this amazing picture with them and the silverback and blah, 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 and all that, you know, and it's wonderful. But they want that as soon as we get back to the lodge.
And you're like, I'm still editing photos from the Philippines.
Yeah. And it's like, well, the next excursion leaves to go and see the golden monkeys in half an hour. So, but I mean, I was editing any chance I had during the road transfers or, you know, just sitting obviously on the plane. It was just trying to keep on top of it was a massive, massive challenge.
One of my favorite images from the trip is it's the exact same table. So one, I'm eating lunch, which I wasn't actually eating. I was just getting it photographed. So somebody was pouring me a glass of Veuve Clicquot, and I had a lovely steak in front of me. She pours the glass, I take the photos, and I have her do it again so I can get video. And I'm like, can you clear it now, please?
Yeah.
So she takes, and I didn't need it.
Yeah.
Cleared it, and then laptop, iPad, Wi-Fi dongle, another iPad, cameras out, everything's ready to go. And you just go, that's how it started, and this is how it's going. You know? And I find it's one of those things that years and years of doing it gets easier and easier, but it's brutal.
It's still a challenge. And it's also you've got to be super organized with your gear. And it's knowing what you have, knowing what you need, what the activity is. Is it going to be in the rainforest? Are you going to be hiking? Are you going to be in a boat? Is it going to be hot or cold? Are you going to be up in the hot air balloon? Is it going to be the helicopter? Will your bags fit in the helicopter? You know, it's just trying to think like, do I need my drone? Do I need the GoPro? Do I need my wetsuit? Oh yeah, we're going to go swimming with the whale shark. Yes, okay, cool. So it's just trying to, you have to be organized, but as well as being in so many countries and so many locations, where did I put my battery? Where did I put my camera?
Which is where you get militant on all that stuff.
Yes. Do you know, I didn't lose anything at all. I didn't even lose a lens cap. So I was really, really, really chuffed to pieces on that. So, yeah.
Very impressed.
I was
That's
very
why I don't
impressed.
carry lens caps.
Yeah, okay.
Because I just lose them.
Yeah, I'll have to take note of that.
The fun bit about those trips is as you do say, you have to be incredibly organized, but it's like, you're sectioning off days and then weeks and then hours because we're going to go diving in the morning. So you got to get the underwater gear and it's got to be out. So you've got to make sure that your lenses and your cameras are outside so you don't go from an AC unit into a boat to then we're going to jump off the boat. We're going to throw a drone up in the air to be able to get the boat going back. Yep. And then you get back on land and you're like, there's an event. So you got to do that sort of stuff. And so you're going from underwater to drones, to land, to everything. So I'm packing on any given trip. I've got 15 cameras in my bag. That's from Polaroids, 360s, GoPros, all that sort of stuff. And you just go, that's a lot of batteries and that's a lot of cables. And so to not lose anything.
I know, it was definitely an accomplishment, like a massive achievement. I think I had 4 camera bags and they were all so heavy. It was just crazy. But I used every bit of kit.
So these particular private jet around the world, you've got to have loads of skills, right? And I feel like this is what we were talking about in the beginning, from the corporate work, wedding work, all of it. It's like all those skills get wrapped up into everything that you do, just like when you're photographing and filming on these particular trips. It's handy to know how to photograph animals because you did it in Safari World. It's handy to be able to photograph an event because you do it at your weddings. It's great to be able to get those portraits and those beautiful couples images on the beach because you're on the beach. You know, and you just go, everything that you do goes into everything that you do.
Completely. And
you go.
I think it goes back to earlier when you were saying about getting pigeonholed. And definitely when I was starting out many moons ago, 14 years ago, and people were saying at the time.
She's like 22. Yeah, definitely didn't start at 10. But yeah.
That's why when people were saying, you know, you should specialise. And I didn't. I just was doing what I enjoyed. And if it, you know, like I said, I was doing motor racing at the weekend on a Sunday, wedding on a Saturday, and then corporate shoots throughout the week. And it's just touching on what we said earlier, that it's pulling so many things, aspects of all those different shoots and being able to have them in your toolkit, in your bag, to be able to use it at, you know, different points of any shoot. But also it's not just about the technical skill. I think you've also got to be a bit of a
10%
all right people person.
90% of it is people.
Yeah.
10% of it is skill set. And a lot of people feel, well, let's just use other numbers, like 80-20. Mm-hmm. I think 80% of this industry should be personality and 20% about what you got in your toolbox, like your skill set. And not everybody believes that. I feel I work with a number of characters that aren't necessarily the greatest to work with on set, but the thing is they don't come back. Whereas the people that are lovely to work with, that are 80% personality and 20% skill, I mean, let's just be clear that 20% skill is still very skilled, and they're very good at what they do, taking photos. But it's the personality component is so huge to me and anybody that I hire, it has to be in place or it's game over.
Yeah.
And so I think that's, you learn your skills, you learn your craft, great, but work on your people skills.
And also, by having good people skills, you can get the best out of your clients.
Huge.
Even if it's just to get the clients excited, so they want to just push things even more. Let's shoot for a bit long because we're just having such a great time. Or they feel even more relaxed because you've helped them feel more relaxed. So they just, if they're in front of the camera, then they're just really sparkling, and it shows. It shines through.
So I'm just going to throw it out there. The 3 things that I think every wedding photographer should do. This is unsolicited advice. Whether you take it or not is completely up to you. Personal galleries for the wedding. I think the weddings are there's very few moments like that actually I take that back. There is only one moment in life that will be like your wedding, and that is your wedding. You will never have those same people in the room, whether it could be your nan or your gran or your grandpa or whatever, and the great grandkids and whoever it could be. That unit is unique to that day.
Yeah.
And so to capture it in all its glory and then share with everybody who was there the moments that are relevant to them in personal galleries is huge. And I would recommend to any photographer to do that. Or filmmakers a little bit different because you can't necessarily batch your galleries like that. I would also print a photo album. And that's whether you make a dime, but print a photo album. The number of times that I've walked into people's homes, talked about their wedding day, they've got one image on the wall, guilty. I'm a photographer who does books, and I had one photograph from my wedding day on my wall.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, all right, I should probably add. And then I eventually printed the book, and my wife was super stoked about it.
Yeah.
And it needed to be done because it just needs to live there. But as a photographer, it's a no-brainer. That is an advertisement sitting on a coffee table for anybody who walks into their home. And so whether you make big money on it, whether it just breaks even, it's just like your photos need to be seen by the people you photographed. Figure out a way to work with the designer, collaborate with somebody, do something so you can get that book pumped out.
Yeah.
And the third one is do testimonials on the day. Get your camera out, put a little fluffy mic on the top and go, hey, do you have like a couple of words you'd want to say to the bride and groom? And just rattle through everybody who's there. Especially get the mom and the dad and all like the core family, but the friends. And don't necessarily do it all at the same time. Do it when everybody's drunk at the bar. Do it when they're doing the barbecue. Do it just after once you photograph the bride and groom coming out of the aisle, done, they're having a little break. Go get mom and dad when they're a little bit emotional. Like, it is huge. And then package it up and send it over to the bride and groom. They will lose it. It is amazing. And those will be some of the most cherished moments from the day. Like I used to do the highlight video stuff, capture the day. They're never going to watch that video. They want the 2-minute version of it. And then maybe once in 40 years, they'll watch the long one. But those special moments shared with the guests on the day, where they just well wishes and happy thoughts. Yeah. They want that.
Yeah, nice touch.
So that's my advice.
Nice touch. I've got one addition to the album.
Oh, yes, go.
And it's a bit digital. So I also do apps for my wedding couples galleries. So there's actually a photo gallery app that sits on the home page of their, the home screen of their phone, and it's there. And just the brides, like especially my brides, just love tapping into it and just flicking through and having their pictures.
Amazing. So they don't have to go into the photo gallery on their iPhone or whatever it might be.
It's an app for them.
Oh, fantastic.
I know, and they can share the app with other people. So, and then, it does link through to, you can get prints from that, but it's just, the focus is really for them to be able to have their favourite photos on their phone right in that app.
The reason why I recommend the book is because you know that the images that you love are in that one thing, in that one spot, and you can always reach to it. Oftentimes, when you're trying to share a photograph, I don't know if you're like this, but I've got 80,000 images in my phone, and when somebody wants to see a photo, I'm like, oh, sugar, where is that? And I'm fairly organized, but you're like, Dewey Decimal System of a Brain, where was that, 2017, 2018? What country was that in? Whatever it might be, it's tough to find.
Yeah.
Whereas the app solution is perfect. It's like,
it's great.
Whatever screen it's on, 1, 2, 3, boom, all the images are there.
Yeah.
Like if you asked me to show you my wedding photos, I would have to dig.
Okay, I can sort out an app for you. There you go.
Yes.
Sorted.
All right, this podcast has just paid for itself. So what's next? What's next for you?
I just want to get back out to doing what I love doing. Just would love weddings to get started again. I just feel it, like I said earlier, I feel it for my clients. Just big parties, surrounded by great happiness and celebrations. Would love to get back out traveling again when it's safe to do so. Be photographing exotic locations. Obviously, Africa's calling, Safari's calling. I've got some big ideas for the end of the year, so hopefully that will happen.
Awesome.
And just get out there and run around the world with my camera.
And that, my friends, is the end of this episode with Juliet Lemon. If you need her, how can we find you?
I am on Instagram at Juliet_Lemon, and my website is julietlemon.com.
Bada boom. That's it. Collaboration Station. It's over. Taco Burrito. We're out of here.